Howdy y'all! Welcome to the Booth Western Art Museum's Facebook page and my home studio. My name is Lynette. I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator at the Booth Western Art Museum, and I am so excited that y'all are joining me again for our third week of live art lessons. Now, I hope some of you are joining me after having watched a video by our Director of Education, Patty Dees, give her art and book recommendation of the week. This week she recommended one of my favorite paintings of a cowgirl in our museum called Rebekah Wayne in True Grit by Felice House. She also recommended a wonderful book called Cindy Ellen, A Wild Western Cinderella by Susan Lowe and illustrated by Jane Manning. Susan Lowe is an author who has illustrated a bunch of Western-themed children's books, and I highly recommend you go check her out because she has written some incredible stuff. So for today's lesson, I've been kind of basing our projects off of the books that Patty has been recommending, and I was trying to think, what is something that, that's Cinderella related, because she loses her slipper. What would be the Western equivalent? If you guessed a cowboy boot, you're correct. So today we're going to be drawing a cowboy boot, which I'm really excited about. But before we get started, just a few encouraging reminders. You don't need any fancy supplies to do this. If all you have is a pencil and a piece of paper, that's all you need. I'm going to be using things like, I might use Sharpies, I might use crayons, color pencils, markers, but you don't have to use any of that. The idea is just that you use whatever you have around the house. So if all you have is a pencil and a piece of paper, that's perfect. Another encouragement is that yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. Mine isn't even going to look like mine. Mine, I already drew it this way, so I want to try to draw it differently. So if yours doesn't look exactly like this, don't worry about it. Take risks, have fun, make some bold choices with this drawing. The last thing is that this doesn't have to be the best thing you've ever drawn. This is just for fun, it's for practice, it's to test your artistic skills, so there's no need to be super precise or perfect about this. So with that being said, I think we should go ahead and jump in and get started. So I'm going to switch my camera around so you can see the table in front of me, so you're going to get a nice view of my ceiling. Here we go. Gonna bop it around there. Here we go. All right. Just make sure it's good. Beautiful. Okay, so I have got my drawing. I'm going to move this aside. I just printed out a picture of a cowboy boot just so I would have an example of what a real one looks like for inspiration. And then I've just got a normal piece of paper, and this is my little toolbox that I have. I've got a color wheel and a value scale. I may talk about these. They're just here for reference. The things I'm going to use first are my trusty pencil. This is just a normal pencil. And then I've got a pencil sharpener and a big eraser if I make some big mistakes. And this is just all of the other coloring stuff that I will use later. So I'm going to throw that aside for now. All right. And the first thing that we're going to want to do for our drawing is the outline. And so when I say the outline of the drawing, I'm basically talking about the most important lines in your drawing. And for this one, I would say the most important ones are going to be the outside part of the boot. So all of the stuff in the middle, we'll get to that later. But I think the most important thing right now is to get the big shape of the boot. And that's what we're going to want to draw first. So here we go. So, for your boot, I'm going to start at the top and kind of work on this edge first. So, what you're going to want to do is I'm going to figure out where I want like this corner, this point to go first. So, I think I'm going to put it here. So you can kind of tell that actually I'm going to put it a little bit lower. And I'll explain why in a bit. Here we go. So I'm going to actually leave a little bit of space, a little bit more room on my paper than I did on this side, because I actually want to add, on this one, I didn't draw a spur. I'm going to draw a spur on this one. So, and I'll explain what that is in a bit. But you're basically going to start by drawing this long line of your boot, and it's going to be kind of at a diagonal. Just a nice gentle slope going down. And as you can see, I draw lots of lines and I'm really scratchy when I draw, because I'll pick which one I like best at the very end and use that one. So I've got the tall top part of my boot here, and then the next thing I'm going to want to draw is the heel of the boot. Now, for your heel, you're going to do like a curved line that goes out, and then you're going to want to straighten it at the bottom like this, because this is going to be like the heel part of your boot. And then next you're going to want to draw a line that goes flat across, another line that goes flat up, so now we have the heel of our boot. Now, this part of our boot can be a little bit tricky, but just think of it as a straight line that goes down, and then another straight line that goes up. And I'm cutting it pretty close on the side of my paper here, but I'm not too worried about it. I'll just draw another line that goes straight up. For your toes. I think a recurring segment in my videos is how many times does Lynnette throw something? How many times do my art supplies go flying across the room? Alright, so now you're going to need to make this top part of your boot, which is, really, if you think about it, you want to kind of do the same kind of shape and lines that you did on the bottom here for the top, just less, I'm doing mine less exaggerated, so I'm not having a huge bump right here, just a little one. And then I'm going to erase here. There we go. Actually, I'm going to erase a little more, because I want to make sure I've got enough room, because once you get to this point, you're going to do, since this is this part of the top part of our boot, we're going to need another line up here to kind of mimic that. Means it's kind of the same, symmetrical on both sides. And then you're going to want to just round off the top here. There we go. Alrighty. Excellent. So, this looks pretty good. I'm happy with how this outline looks, and this is the basic outline of how you get started with your boot. Now, before we go in and start adding some of the other details, I would say some of the main details that everybody should think about adding is you'll want to have a sole of your shoe, so you can draw that line by just going like this. Basically just creating a line that kind of goes over the bottom of your foot, and that's kind of where the sole is. Like on this shoe, this is the whole sole. You'll also want one of these little straps on your boot that's going to help you pull it on. And then there's, almost on all cowboy boots, there's a seam that goes right here down the middle. So if you want, you can draw it like this. And if you're like, Lynnette, I can't draw these straight lines, just grab another piece of paper or a ruler, and you can use that as your straight edge to draw a straighter line on your drawing. So those are some of the main ones, without me getting too distracted. A lot of cowboy boots will have like some kind of line here. But now that we're kind of getting into how you want to decorate the boot, and I'm going to ask y'all to give me some suggestions of what I should design or add to my boot in a minute. But think about, one thing I want you to think about is, whose boots are these? So I want to bring up the painting that Patty brought up in her art and book recommendation. So this is my favorite cowgirl from our collection. It's called Rebekah Wayne in True Grit, and it's by contemporary artist Felice House, which contemporary just means that this is an artist who's making art today and working today. And this is from a series that she did called Re-Western, and the idea is that she was reimagining famous characters from Western movies as women, because a lot of the main characters, and if you watch a Western movie, a lot of the main characters are guys, and Felice House was saying, you know, I wish there was more women main characters, so I'm gonna paint them. So this painting is, she thought, what if there's a movie called True Grit, and the actor's an actor, John Wayne, that plays the main character, and she's like, what if he was actually a girl. And this is what this painting is based off of. So the character in the movie has a eye patch and, you know, rides a horse. And I just love this painting because she just looks so cool. I mean, I just want to be her, which is why I think I like it so much. She looks very strong and confident, like she knows what she's doing. And that's why she's one of my favorite cowgirls in our museum. So when you're thinking about your boot, and you're thinking about whose boot is this, that's going to change how it looks. So let's say I was drawing this and it was my boot. I don't own a pair of cowboy boots. So if I'm thinking about if I had a pair of cowboy boots and I could make them look however I wanted, what would I put on there? And I'd probably put, sunflowers and birds and bright colors all over my boot and make them very colorful and decorative. But if we think about this character in Felice House's painting, like what would her cowboy boots look like? I would say, and in this painting it's kind of fun because we can't, sorry guys, we can't see her boots, but we can think about what they would look like. She looks like she's, working, so her boots would probably be worn out. They might be muddy and have scratches all over them. So that's probably what her boots would look like. So before you start adding tons of designs, think about whose boot is this? Now, I've already decided I want this to be my boots, so I'm gonna decorate them as if they were mine. But I want to ask y'all for some suggestions if you have any, some shapes or designs that I could add to this boot. So in this one, I added like a star design. I added some circles and I see these kinds of shapes in a lot of cowboy boots, so that's why I added them. But are there any shapes that you think I should use? Also, one thing that you can think about when you're doing your boot is on this one, I didn't draw a background, but you could draw a background on your boot. Like, where is your boot? Is it in a desert? Is it stuck to a cactus? Is there a snake coming out of your boot? There's lots of fun things that you can add around your boot and not just to the actual design. So you can make this like a whole scene, which would be really cool to see. I'm going to add a few details to mine before I kind of add some more specific designs, because I said earlier I wanted to add spurs to my boot, which, let's see. So really when you're drawing spurs on a boot, you're going to have a line. I'm looking because this one has a spur on it. So when you're drawing boots, there's a strap that goes across the bottom of the cowboy boot, kind of like this. And then there's a little piece of metal that comes out from the heel a little bit more. And then that's where you have this round spiky part, which is called the rowel. So I'm going to draw mine, some circles, and I'm going to outline mine, and then I'm going to kind of talk about, I'm going to give you some fun facts about the cowboy boot. I'm just waiting until I have a little bit more details drawn, since drawing the details takes a lot of my brain. Okay, so I'm going to erase this line now. I'm also going to erase this line. And I'm actually going to add another line here so it looks like the strap is on top of the boot. Alrighty. So I'm going to start adding some details to my boot. I haven't had any suggestions from y'all yet, but I was saying that, I like nature a whole lot, so I'm actually going to add some flowers to my boot. So one easy way that you can draw flowers, which if there's a way that you know how to draw flowers that you like, you can of course add that. But I like to you can draw a circle in the middle, and then you draw a petal that comes out here, and then you almost draw two like camel humps or like a very curvy number 3. And then you can draw like 4 to 6, I would say 4 to 6 petals on your flower. That will make it look very nice. Alright. So while I'm drawing these designs, I'll talk a little bit about the cowboy boot. So, here, hold on a second. Here we go. Just getting my table sorted. You guys can't see it, but there's stuff all over here. Stuff in the wings. Alright, so Cowboy boots, they're called cowboy boots because they are shoes used for riding horses that were made famous by cowboys. They wore them a lot, and the style also came from the vaqueros, which are cowboys from Mexico and Spain who taught American cowboys how to be cowboys and how to ranch. And the style of cowboy boots, it's not, a lot of times when we see cowboy boots, we think of them as being very fashionable. But a lot of the style of a cowboy boot, it's like function before style. So all of the design choices of the cowboy boot were there, and basically that's what became fashionable. But every part of the cowboy boot has a purpose. So the first thing I want to talk about is the high heel. So a lot of cowboy boots have high heels, and again, that's not to be fashionable. It actually has a purpose. So when you, actually here, I have a picture up here that'll help y'all out. Here we go. So when you're riding a horse, you have a saddle that's going to look like this. And so you sit in this part in the saddle, kind of like Rebekah Wayne is in this painting. And when you sit, your foot is going to sit in this part of the saddle, which is called the stirrup. So when your foot's in the stirrup, that's what helps you get on the horse, get off the horse, and also keeps you on the horse while you're riding. So you have to squeeze your legs when you're on the horse. And a lot of cowboys were really afraid if you were riding your horse, your foot might slip through the stirrup, and if you fell off your horse, you'd get dragged behind your horse, and it could be very dangerous. So what the heel did is it actually caught your foot in the stirrup so your foot wouldn't slide through the stirrup, and it kept you secure on your horse and helped you to get on and off very easily. So that's one thing I think is super interesting, because I don't know what I thought the heel was for, but it makes sense. But it's purposeful, and it helps cowboys to ride their horses better. So the heel is one distinct part of the cowboy boot. Also, the heel of cowboy boots a lot of times is rounded or it has a pointy tip, and that is just, again, to help the foot go through the stirrup easier. And I've heard pointy ones are more uncomfortable, so that might not be ideal, but it does look very cool to have the pointy toe. Another distinct part of the cowboy boot is it has this very tall top part of your boot, which is called the top or the shaft. And the top, and the reason it's so tall is partly because the shoe doesn't have lacing. And I'm actually, while I'm talking, I'm going to pull out a Sharpie because I want to go ahead and start, oh, you know what? I was going to add one more thing to my boot. And then I'm going to start outlining it with Sharpie because that's going to make it pop off the page. And it's very important when you're drawing. I'm going to actually pull out my value scale here. So whenever you're drawing, good artwork a lot of the times has these range of values. You're going to want to have really dark darks and really light lights, and then all these values in between. So with my drawing, I'm basically going to be starting off with the really dark values, so then I can fill in with a lot of the ones in between. So that's why I like to go in with Sharpie. So going back to the top part of the boot. So why the boot is so tall? Well, part of that was because the boots didn't have laces. So part of it being really tall like that helped to keep your shoe on your foot. Another thing is that, like I was talking about, so if you were on your horse, on your stirrup, let's say your foot slid through the stirrup and you were getting dragged behind your horse, if you needed to get your foot out of your shoe really easily, the cowboy boots are supposed to fit kind of loose so that if you're riding and something happens and you need to, get your foot out of your shoe, basically, you can do that really easily. And it helps to keep you safe. So the tall part, it's to keep your foot on because they fit kind of loose and there's no lacing. Another reason why it's so tall is for protection. Sorry, let me concentrate really quickly on doing this, so then I can work towards. Then I can work on doing the outlining. I just really wanted to draw a snake. Just thought it would be very cute. Oh, now he looks kind of angry. That's okay. All right. So, another reason why the boots were so tall was for protection. So, when cowboys would work out west, where it was desert area out there, and so the ground had brush all over it, and the brush sometimes could be very thorny, with sticks, and also there would be there was rocks, but there was also snakes, like rattlesnakes, that would hide in the brush, and maybe you didn't see it when you were getting off your horse, and it might try to bite you, while this tall part of your boot would help protect, your calf and your lower part of your leg, so that if you did get bit, hopefully it wouldn't go through all the way your boot, because cowboy boots are made out of leather. They're very tough. So it would help to protect you from brush or like a snake bite. Also, the tall part was partly to protect you from the saddle. So when you're riding a horse, you can kind of see here, there's this part of the saddle called the stirrup leathers, kind of the same over here. And if your leg rubs up against those, if you're riding for a long time, it can start to rub on your leg and hurt. So it also protects against that. Another thing it can protect from is getting your feet wet. So let's say you're trying to cross a creek, or it's very rainy or muddy. Having it be very tall, you're less likely to get stuff inside your shoe because it's so tall. So that's another good reason why cowboy boots are very tall. It's not just for fashion and tucking your pants into. I've heard a lot of people say real cowboys will wear their pants outside of their boots. They don't tuck them in. Probably because of the stuff I was talking about earlier, for more protection. Now, another thing about the cowboy boots that's very distinct is the spurs, which is what I'm drawing right now. So the spurs is something that it's a tool that you add onto your boot. And what a spur is for is, so it has this, it's a metal wheel called a rowel. And here I've got a little picture here. So this is the rowel. It's basically a spinning metal wheel that you put on your boot. And what it does is you can use it, so when you're sitting in the stirrup, sitting in the saddle, your foot's in the stirrup here. If you need to tell your horse that it needs to go faster or it needs to walk forward, you can nudge, give it a little poke. You can poke the metal part onto the horse's side, and that will tell the horse to go forward. And it doesn't hurt the horse. It's basically just a little nudge, a little encouragement. A lot of people think that the reins are what you use to make the horse go forward, but the reins of the horse, which are in this painting, kind of what's attached to the horse's head, what you hold, that tells your horse which direction to go. You can turn it different ways to tell it which way to go. And then it also tells the horse to slow down. But spurs have actually been around a lot longer than cowboy boots. Spurs have been around for as long as horses have been around, almost. And they have become very distinct in cowboy culture. Another fun thing, this was a fun thing. So, there are little metal pieces that you can attach to your spurs called jingle bobs. Isn't that funny? So, the jingle bobs you can attach to your spur, and they make like a metal jingling noise. So, if you've watched a Western movie before, and when the cowboy's walking down the street, it makes that clink, clink, clink noise. That's actually the jingle bobs. They actually don't serve any purpose besides making noise, which I think is kind of funny. So people added them to their boots just because they wanted it to make a sound and to sound interesting. So it was a fun thing I learned when I was looking up stuff about cowboy boots. All right, and I'm almost done here, which I'm very happy with how this is turning out. Here we go. All right, now I'm gonna outline my snake up here. All right, and I've got just a couple more minutes that I can spend starting to add some color to my drawing. Get little nostrils. Okay, here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah! Oh, it's so cute. Okay. Actually, I'm going to add just a little line here so that it looks like the snake is in there. Okay. So now that I've got all of the outlining done, I can decide what colors I want to use for my drawing. So let me look in here and see what I've got. Let's see. So I've got a bunch of markers. Got more Sharpies and colored pencils. I think I actually want to use yellow. Use a yellow colored pencil and color in some of these flowers. I was thinking about it, and yellow is one of my favorite colors, but I haven't used it a lot in any of my drawings, so I was thinking about it ahead of time, and I was like, I need to use some yellow in my drawing. I just feel like I've been missing out. Now, there was no particular reason why I picked the yellow pencil over like a yellow crayon or a yellow Sharpie. That was just the one I picked up first. There wasn't really a rhyme or reason to it. Now, with your drawing, you can kind of start to think about when you start using color, like what color schemes you want to use. So, for the drawing I did before, I actually used primary colors. So I'm going to pull up my color wheel really quickly. Number 2 pencil fell on the floor. So, when you are looking at a color wheel, the primary colors are yellow, red, and blue, which you can see I used in this drawing. And those are the colors that you actually use to mix all of the other ones. And the secondary colors are actually the colors that are mixed by the primary. So when you mix red and yellow together, you get orange, red and blue is purple, and then blue and yellow is green. So green, orange, and purple are the secondary colors. So maybe on this one, I could do secondary colors, but I also did secondary colors on another drawing that we did of a cactus. Other color schemes you can do is just cool colors, which would be green, blue, and purple. Or the cool colors, because they remind us of nature, yellow, orange, and red. Or warm colors, because I think of like the sun or fire. They're very warm. But you know, I'm not really feeling either of those, so maybe I'll just do a rainbow. Just do a whole rainbow piece. All right, let's see. Let me pull out my pencils here. Where's the green? Here's a green. I'm gonna use a green crayon. There we go. And whenever you're coloring, you don't have to be super perfect or exact. See, I went outside the lines there, and that's totally fine. Kind of like it looking a little messy. And let's see, where have I got... Ooh, here's a blue that I have. This one's like a blue-green. I'm gonna use that for the heel. Ooh, that one looks so cool. I love that. Excellent. Oh, I'm loving how this is looking so far. So I actually am going to finish coloring this off screen, and then I will post a picture of it later on so you guys can kind of see what my finished product look like. And I got to skedaddle, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video, and I'm going to flip my camera around so I can see you and talk to you for a second. Another lovely shot of my ceiling. Incredible. All right. Oh, I almost forgot, because I wasn't finished with mine, so I almost forgot a very important step that you need to do before you finish your drawing, is you have to sign your artwork. So a lot of artists, when they sign their artwork, they might put it in a corner, or they might try to like hide it somewhere in their painting to just to make it kind of like a fun seek and find. I'm just going to write mine at the bottom. It's going to be really, well, it's not going to be that messy. I spoke too soon. I did a good job. There we go. So you're going to make sure you sign your artwork so that people who, you know, are in your house will know you made this. And if you want to show it in a big fancy gallery, people know this is yours. So let me see yours. Oh, I forgot I can't see it. So I really want to see what your artwork looks like if you were drawing along with me today. You can post your picture as a comment in this video, or you can send it to us. You can also post it on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Use our hashtag #BoothMuseum and we will see it. If you send it to us, we've been posting some of the ones that y'all have sent us on our Facebook page or our Instagram. So if you want to get featured on our social media, you should send it to us. Because also I enjoy seeing them. It's fun to see what we've drawn together. So make sure you share your pictures with us. I'll be here again next week, Tuesday, April 21st, same time, 10:45, same place, Booth Western Art Museum Facebook page. Also, tag along with Patty right before my video at 10:30 to get her art and book recommendation of the week. It'll give you an idea of what we're going to be drawing that day. And yeah, it's time for I Gotta Skedaddle. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. Me and the Booth Western Art Museum as we share America's story. I hope you have an artful day. I'll see you next time. Bye.